Hello, welcome to Local Chats. I'm Lewis Adams, and I have here with me
Shann Lions from Four Lions.
Pleasant to have you in here. You're the front man.
I'm a reluctant front man, but someone has to do it. I can't say I've got the biggest ego in the band, but it's there.
Now, normally when I get an artist in, I like to just ask about what kind of influences you have. So we'll kick off with that.
Years ago, I was in a marginally successful independent band. We released albums, we toured, we had a record deal, or we actually got a record deal on a reasonably big label. It was the same label as White Stripes and bands like that. And that's sort of when that band dissolved. Very briefly, in about 6 months, put together a solo record, but didn't push it, only did a couple of gigs. After that, I was sort of whole jaded with the music industry because that band took a good portion of my life and I loved every minute of it. But in the end, we didn't get to where we wanted to get to, and that's various reasons around that, whether it was just because we were so regional or, we weren't any good. I don't know. So that band broke up. I just wanted to get this solo album done, and after that just went to ground, didn't play any gigs, didn't pick up a guitar or anything for about 8 years, which is a long time.
Yeah, it sounds like a really long time, yeah.
By that stage, decided, circumstances had changed and I had a bit more spare time. So I actually got together with a guy that I sort of didn't really know, but knew of. We started just playing acoustic covers because I hadn't even picked up a guitar, so we started doing that and it was a lot of fun. But for me, I've always played original music. I'd never ever played covers, so that was a challenge within itself. But there was something missing within me, which is I've always been a songwriter. I wrote all the songs in the previous original band that I was in. I just started writing again as a sort of cathartic process, and the music I was really gravitating towards was sort of Americana, old country stuff. So Neil Young, Ryan Adams, Bruce Springsteen, that's what I was listening to non-stop, and just started writing in that vein, and it nurtured what I needed to get out onto paper. I wrote an album worth of stuff, recorded it, paid good musos and some I didn't pay. I knew our bass player Greg owns muso stuff, a local music store. He'd always seen me coming back into the store over those 8 years and just said, "Are you not doing music anymore?" And I sort of gave him not interested. But if I ever do something again, I'll give you a call. And he said, "Oh, I'd love if, I always liked your stuff. I'd like to do that." When I wrote that, I just thought, right, I got a bass player straight away. So I just told him, and he said, I'll come down and play bass on it. So he did that. Found Keith, the guitarist, just through Instagram, actually. I knew he had some wild collection of guitars and amplifiers. He's got probably the biggest guitar collection in this region. And just met up with him at a cafe and just hit it off straight away. I thought he's such a nice bloke. I suppose as you get older with music, it's more about the personalities, and the essence is why you first got into music when you were so young, which was just making music, the camaraderie. We had Josh DeRouge playing drums at that stage. Slinged him some cash. He played quite well on the album and knew exactly what my vision was for the album. Plus he's got great musical taste. He knows the bands that I'm into. And then just got heaps of different other session players to come in. And as that band evolved, we then got a different drummer, Jordan Allen, because Josh had a lot of other commitments. Now Jordan's moved away, so we've got Gav Moncrief playing drums now, and we've started recording with Gav. So we've actually started doing our second album at the moment. That's going to be completed at the end of the month. It's actually coming along and together way quicker than I thought. Whereas, the first album, I think I started in December and it wasn't finished till like the following July or something like that. It was such a long period with this album because we are recording it in an old traditional sense. It's all analog to tape, which not many artists do these days. It's all done digitally on Pro Tools, but we're actually in a room together recording the song all live. So if anyone hits the wrong beat or hits the wrong note, then you have to start playing the song again. That's going to be finished at the end of the month. I've actually got some dates at the end of the month that we're mixing it. Over the next few weeks, we're getting a string section down, a quartet to play strings on one song. We've got pedal steel put down the other night. We're getting baritone guitar and piano accordion and a few other different things, Hammond organ. I actually thought that this album would take a lot longer than what it has, hence why we're doing this EP, because it was something I thought, oh well, we'll just put the EP out and then I'm not really rushed to get the album out. If you wanted to get down to it, we probably didn't even need to put an EP out. We could have probably got the album done and out. However, it's a good thing that we're doing the EP because it's actually quite a weird sort of concept. Going to be obviously 4 songs.
Yep.
The guys aren't going to hear the songs before we record them. We're just going to turn up on a day. It's a bit of change in direction for the sort of Americana old country sound. We're sort of going back to the post-punk sound, but it still works in for our sound because we do have songs that are that Hooskadoo replacement sort of sound. I'm going to actually write the songs over the course of Friday and Saturday prior to recording the songs on Sunday.
So that's a pretty fast turnaround there.
Yeah, I've got little, I wouldn't say they're form songs, but I've got little scrolls of little things here and there that I could piece it together, but I always find the lyrics are the hardest things to come up with. Now, this EP is called Golden Triangle, and all the songs on the album are going to be themed around Bendigo. Can't really tell you what that's going to be at this stage, but I've got, it's obviously something to do with the gold rush. I'm going to write a song about Sun Lung, just little things like that. We'll record them and mix them on the Sunday, get mastered in Melbourne on Monday, and Tuesday we'll release them on Bandcamp. Over the course of that weekend, I will try and get around Bendigo and put together either a doco or a film clip. So on Wednesday, I can actually have one of the songs on a visual film clip or something. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of that week, we're actually playing 4 shows. So we're doing Thursday night, the 30th of June at the Retreat in Brunswick. Friday, the 1st of July at the Royal George in Kyneton, Saturday the 2nd of July, the Golden Vine in Bendigo, and Sunday afternoon, the 3rd of July, we're driving up to Lockington to play the Lockington pub up there. We've got no support bands, we're playing 2 sets, but it'll be the first chance of people to hear the songs from the EP, but they can actually hear the new album as well. That album's getting mastered in America again because it's a non-digital process. Up until that point, we actually have to send over old-fashioned reels to America to then get it mastered and then sent back in a digital form. It's pretty exciting, but it's pretty time consuming, and it's been a logistical nightmare around organising musicians and different other people. With the album, we're actually been working with a local photographer / filmmaker, Ross Jardine, and he's been documenting the whole process along the way. Spoke to Ross the other night and he said, we've still got X amount of days to do. I think he said he's had something like 50 gig of footage so far, so good luck to him editing that.
It might take a while, you reckon?
Yeah, but if we get a 5-6 minute little mini doco thing out of it, that'll be pretty good, just to show people the process. But I always wanted to make a real album, which is onto tape, because I'm a real traditionalist in that sense, and sonically the difference it's already made is quite noticeable. When you're recording live to tape, it all comes down to the room and just the feel that you get with each other. And the studio that we're recording in, it's about 20 minutes drive from my house. But that's not the point we did it. It's just I walked into this studio, which is in Campbell's Creek, and just thought, wow, this is the spot. That studio's got no digital technology in it. It's all stuff from like the 70s, pre-70s. There's tape machines in there, what we're recording on, that were from Capitol Records in LA. I don't know if they're like from the 50s or the 60s or whatever, but it's coming up so great. And we're recording to an 8-track, so there's actually 8 microphones, 8 separate tracks. With the drums, for example, we did and I'm going to name check here, not that I know the guy, I wish I did, Glenn Johns, who did a lot of great 70s recordings, anything from Zeppelin's probably the one one that most people would know, Zeppelin's 2, I think. But his drum sound is he does a triangle, which is 3 microphones on a drum kit. But because we only had 8 channels, those 3 mics ended up going into 2 channels. So that gives you 6 to do 2 guitars and a bass. That's 5, so it gives you another 3 to do vocals and everything else. Having limits around what you can do, you don't get bogged down in going, I'll add another guitar and I'll add this and that.
Forces you to prioritise.
It lets songs breathe. If you listen to a lot of your greatest records and some of your favourite records, it's usually quite minimalist. And, you know, even popular music, if you listen to, you know, Drake or some music like that, they've only got about 6 tracks. Like there'll be a 808 drum machine, there'll be some sub within that as well. There'll be a keyboard and like 1 or 2 vocals. So it's all about that impact and just capturing the moment. It's not about how much technology or junk you can put into a song to make it sound better than what it is, because the essence is a song was just written on a piano or a guitar with a vocal. Yeah. So if you can build a little bit upon that and try and convey that emotion within the song, and people will connect with that more than they will have, you know, this overproduced record. So I didn't want to make anything that was overproduced. Wanted to do something that was quite real and heartfelt. So I think we've done that with this next album. And obviously with the EP, it's going to be even more minimal because we'll record that live. But I'm not sure if we're even going to worry about doing any overdubs apart from doing the vocals. If you listen to Replacements and Husker Du, stuff like that, it's just, you know, a couple of guitars, bass, drums, maybe some percussion and your vocals. So we'll probably do that. 8 tracks will work fine for what we're trying to convey on that recording. Plus, the songs are going to be so short because we'll most likely put them out on the 7-inch as well. So 7 inches need to be under 9 minutes of music. So each song will probably be about 2 minutes 10, 2:15. Pretty short.
What kind of challenges are you expecting from the EP? Obviously, you're going to be compressed for time.
Yeah, it's time. It's just me being happy because I'm probably my worst critic. Writing is like, if you recall back to your VCE, it's like doing Cats. So you you do your draft and you go, oh yeah, that's all right. And then you come back to it and you go, no, don't like it, take that out. And then that's just lyrics. Like you might write the lyrics but change them. Like I change them so many times to work better for the song. But then with song arrangements, to me it's so mathematical because you try and write a song, it might have an intro, a verse, a pre-chorus, a chorus, and then it repeats that, and then it goes into bridge, and it might have half a chorus and all that sort of stuff. But I like to mix it up, and I do things like the second verse will be half the length of the first verse. So you get back into the chorus. For me, the essence of a song is the chorus. That's what people always connect to. But then I always mix it up because I always think, I've written a song in that formula before. I won't do that. I'll do something different. And then you look at the production sense of, okay, well, you'll drop those instruments out there and just have a guitar, or there'll be some space there, you put in a drum fill leading back into a chorus, or there's that for the guitar solo, or I'm dropping out my guitar. And then you're working with other guys in the band, so you get their input in the sense of the production, as in, are you happy with this, guys? And they'll go, yeah, I like what you've done there with that guitar or whatever. I find music and maths really, really similar. A few years ago, I started going through some of my favourite artists and actually mapping out song formulas. One thing I've learned out of all that is some of the greatest written songs always start with a chorus. It might be the melody and the vocal is changed at the start, but then it's brought back in as the chorus. It's the same chords, but vocally they've changed it. It's creating that hook.
You got the second album, and you've got the EP and sort of the associated tour with that. What's next?
I'm not going to be as rushed and feel as rushed, because for me, my whole thing was, we're playing a lot of venues, and a lot of venues say to you, do you guys have enough material for 2 sets? So my thing was, I want to write enough music for 2 sets. I want to be one of these bands that puts out an album every year, because you just don't know how long you exist as a band. But I think we're really steady and going really well as a band. So I think we'll get the second album out and then probably give it a year and a half before we put the next one out.
Okay.
I would envision in a musical direction. I think we'll probably release some EPs and different other things like that. I'm always one with EPs that you can do things a little bit different, hence why we're doing this EP in a different style than the album. So I want something that's quite incongruent with every single album. So, obviously our debut album and our second album will have elements that are similar on those albums. So when we do a third one, you would think it would somewhere tie in, and then an EP, you can just do whatever you want, something different. Well, that's my thinking. I've thought about when we get around to a third album what that would sound like and how we'd record it and those sort of things, but it's always around an evolution and doing things different. You wouldn't want to do the same thing every single album, hence this second album we wanted to record it totally different, whereas the third one I would think we'd try and combine some of that analog ethos and also some digital components of that. I've also probably got to be mindful of the amount of money that all these things cost to record, etc. I don't know, we just have to wait and see what happens with the band. I've got no preconceived ideas or where we want it to get to. I just want to keep making music because that's just part of who I am. If I ever lost or I gave up playing music again, then I'd lose part of me, and that's what I felt over that 8 years when I gave up music, that there was something really lacking in my life.
If people want to follow Four Lions, where can they do this?
It's just Four Lines Music on Facebook. It's Four Lines Music on Instagram and Twitter. So just type in Four Lines Music. We've obviously got a website as well, which is fourlinesmusic.com. We've got all our videos and different other things. We're getting t-shirts made at the moment, so people can buy t-shirts, and hopefully we see some people along to the shows that we're doing. They're all free entry, by the way, too, so that's another big thing for us. We want people to just get to our shows and not feel that they have to pay cover charge. Not that it's a bad thing, but we just don't want, for us, we don't want any deterrents. We want more people to come along that they can and support live music. Then if they like the night, when we're not playing and they turn up and they have to pay, $5 to get in, they go, we like this venue, we'll come and see this band.
They might do it again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shann. It's been a pleasure having a local chat with you.
Thanks, Lewis.
This has been another episode of Local Chats. You can find us on Twitter at The New Local, and you can find this episode and other episodes up on www.thenewlocal.net. See you later.